This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Tuesday, the 2nd day of March in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. Narcotics police in Jamaica are probing the discovery of scores of packages with more than 300 pounds of cocaine, which were found in containers that arrived there in the island from Guyana. The discovery was made at the Kingston Freeport Terminal on Monday afternoon. Reports out of Jamaica indicate that the cocaine was found in 2 of 6 transshipment containers that arrived on the island from Guyana en route to Haiti and China. The Jamaica Observer reports that while searching the containers, narcotics police, accompanied by members of the Jamaica Customs Contraband Enforcement Team, reportedly found a total of 122 packages stashed in the containers. Each package contained cocaine. The packages of cocaine weighed 307 pounds and carries an estimated street value of more than $6.5 million. No one has been arrested in Jamaica in connection with the bust. Authorities in Guyana have been informed of the drug seizure, and head of the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, James Singh, informed news source this afternoon that a full local investigation is underway. Mr. Singh said the information sharing between the law enforcement authorities in Jamaica and Guyana has been flowing. He offered no additional details on the local probe. The latest drug bust in containers from Guyana followed 2 other drug busts internationally that were also linked to containers that were shipped from Guyana. In August last year, law enforcement in Germany found 1.5 tons of cocaine in a shipment of rice from Guyana. 3 months after that bust, more than 11 tons of cocaine was found in a shipment of scrap metal from Guyana. A wanted bulletin was issued for a local suspect who is still to be arrested. There have been questions about the operations of the container scanners at the city wharves that are operated by the Customs Department of the GRA. The Guyana Revenue Authority recently terminated the contracts for a number of container scanner specialists, while not linking those dismissals to any of the probes of the international drug bust. More news coming up in just a moment.
Guyana, we've been through it all.
But as a people we have
weathered every storm
and risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
all the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We
are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as filaria. But what is filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
On the anniversary of the 2nd of March 2020 elections, President Irfan Ali announced that he will be instituting a new national award, the Order of Democracy. In a midnight statement, the president said the award will be in recognition of those who defended Guyana's democracy. Mr. Ali said in the aftermath of last year's elections, a plot to subvert the democratic will of the people was not allowed to succeed.
I propose that the nation should honor, for now and all time, courageous persons who defend democracy in Guyana. Democracy is vital for the freedom of people, for human rights, including freedom of the media and freedom of expression. Democracy is crucial for business to thrive, for the attraction of investment, and for the social progress and economic prosperity of the nation. Democracy is the basis for upholding the rule of law, separating the powers of the government, the legislature, and the judiciary, for ensuring the expressions of the will of the people through free and fair elections, and for an electoral process uncontaminated by corruption.
He also noted that the names of those to be invested with the Order of Democracy will be announced later this year. The March 2020 election saw final results being announced 5 months later after a national recount. That national recount, which was agreed to by the then president and the then leader of the opposition, was triggered by irregularities observed in the tally of the Region 4 votes. The recount itself unearthed additional irregularities in the Region 4 votes. Since the final election results were announced last August, a number of GCOM officials have been charged for alleged fraud. They have all denied the charges. The elections are also now the subject of an election petition case before the High Court. The Ministry of Health has removed Rudy Small as the Chief Executive Officer of the Linden Hospital Complex with immediate effect. Small, who set off a wave of controversy after accusing nurses of abandoning their posts to go sleep with their sweet man, received a correspondence from the Health Ministry's Permanent Secretary with Monday's date informing him of the decision for him to be removed from the post. He has been instructed to hand over all property belonging to the Linden Hospital to the Regional Health Officer. The move by the Ministry of Health comes on the heels of protests by nurses of the Linden Hospital, who received support from the Guyana Public Service Union and the Regional Democratic Council for Mr. Small to be removed as CEO. On Monday, scores of nurses gathered to picket the CEO's office. When they turned up this morning to continue the protest action, they were informed of the Ministry of Health's decision. In a recorded interview with a regional online news site, the former CEO announced plans to install a fingerprint timer system at the hospital to track down the working hours of staff members. In the interview, he accused nurses of getting away from their jobs at nights to engage in extramarital sexual affairs. He also accused their supervisors of encouraging them. The nurses and the nursing supervisors rejected the accusations and called out the CEO for being disrespectful towards them with his statement. He apologized and encouraged the nurses to move on, but the nurses said his removal would set the stage for any moving on. the Health Ministry is expected to appoint an interim CEO soon. While the Office of the First Lady has been given an additional $15 million in the 2021 budget, despite no new projects being announced to be undertaken by the office. The revelation was made by Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gail Teixeira during the consideration of the budget estimates for the Office of the President today. The increase was flagged by the opposition leader Joe Harmon, who questioned the reason behind the increase from $10 million last year to $25 million this year. Mr. Harmon sought clarity on the additional programs to be undertaken by the First Lady's office that would require an increase in allocation by more than 100%. In response, Minister Teixeira said the Office of the First Lady has always had money allocated to it. She explained that First Lady Arya Ali currently has several projects that she's overlooking and will be part of, although she could not say what are the upcoming projects. Not satisfied with that answer, the opposition leader sought further clarification. Mr. Teixeira still could not identify specific projects or areas of work where the funds will be used. She said she believes the same practice that has gone on for decades, and that is that the allocation is made to the First Lady's office and she can spend it according to her programs and projects, and she is accountable in terms of the expenditure through the Office of the President. The First Lady Arya Ali over the past few months has been pushing a One Guyana initiative and has also been engaged in a beautification exercise which will see several places including the Kingston seawalls benefiting from a facelift. The Office of the President will be increasing its fleet of more than 100 vehicles this year with the purchase of 7 new vehicles to the tune of $6 to $7 million. During the consideration of the budget estimates this morning, Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gail Teixeira announced that Land Cruisers and buses for the Office of the President are among the new vehicles to be purchased. Last September, the Office of the President was allocated over $90 million for the purchase of new vehicles for the fleet of the President, the Prime Minister, and the Vice President. A total of 6 vehicles were purchased then. Today, Minister Teixeira said the Office of the President is upgrading the fleet for various departments under its purview, since a number of vehicles that were there have been found to be defective. Questioned about the assignment of the more than 100 vehicles that are already a part of the presidential fleet, Teixeira refused to divulge information on the persons who have been assigned those vehicles. She said for security reasons, she would not provide that information. The Caribbean Court of Justice today dismissed a matter which challenged the renaming of the Ogle Airport to the Eugene F. Correa International Airport under the former government. The matter was filed by Air Services Limited and others, who contended that the process of renaming the airport was not properly done, since there was no proper consultation. In 2016, the then government announced the renaming of the Ogle International Airport to the Eugene F. Correa International Airport, sparking some level of debate among some airline operators who complained that they should have been fully consulted. But the Caribbean Court of Justice today ruled that the duty to consult in this case was properly done and was fair to the parties involved. According to the CCJ, based on the evidence presented, the operators at the airport were consulted and were able to discuss the name change among other issues at a meeting with the former minister on the 18th of November 2015. The court pointed out that after the meeting, the same operators provided a brief to the minister of all the issues that were discussed, and those issues included the name change. The court found that the minister took their concerns seriously enough that he commissioned a legal review of the lease of the airport. The court also found that there was no need for further consultations, as advanced by the appellants. When the Ogle International Airport was officially renamed the Eugene F. Correa International in 2016, 7 of the domestic airlines and an association formed by them sought a judicial review of the minister's approval of the name change. The orders sought were refused by the local high court, and the appeal against that decision dismissed by the Court of Appeal. The applicants then decided to go all the way to the CCJ, and the matter has now been grounded with the Eugene F. Correa name to remain. Another sexual assault case is dogging the Guyana Defense Force this evening. In a statement today, the GDF announced that during a recent investigation of misconduct and breaches of standard operating procedures by some officers at Base Camp Guyana, it learned of an allegation of possible sexual assault by one of its officers against another officer. The GDF said given the nature and seriousness of the allegation, the matter was reported to the Guyana Police Force, which has undertaken an investigation. The Army today said it is committed to a full and thorough investigation of the matter. It said all ranks found culpable of any misconduct or breaches of SOPs are disciplined in full accordance with the Defense Act and force regulations. The GDF also noted that it recognizes that recent allegations of sexual assault against its ranks require immediate strategies beyond its current training regimen that will specifically and directly address such deviant behavior by some of its ranks. Last month, a number of soldiers were accused of raping a young woman in Region 1. That matter is still being investigated. The Caribbean Examinations Council (CXC) has announced that it will be administering the CSEC and CAPE examinations in June and July. The exams are set to begin on the 14th of June and end on the 16th of July. Unlike last year's exams, CXC will be reverting to 2 papers being administered to every subject. School-based assessments are to be submitted where required. Owing to the COVID-19 pandemic last year, CXC administered a single paper examination, with the scores from SBAs being used to make up the remaining marks. That decision created a number of grading issues across the region that CXC is still addressing. The Ministry of Education here in Guyana revealed today that 5 weeks prior to the exams, broad topics that will feature on Paper 2 exams will be provided to candidates. The ministry said it must be noted that candidates are still required to prepare for all topics covered, since the Paper 1 examinations will feature various topics related to the subjects. The ministry has also indicated that students will also have the option to defer all or some of the subjects that they have registered to write in 2021 until January or June of next year. The 2021 SBA will still be valid in 2022. The ministry said the move is to cater for students who may feel that they are not properly prepared to write all or some of the subjects this year. There will be no financial implications for the deferrals. Candidates are being advised that if they wish to defer the writing of some or all of their subjects, they need to indicate by the 1st of May. Schools across the country have been closed since last March, although students preparing for regional examinations have been allowed face-to-face sessions with their teachers in the classroom.
Guyana, we've been through it all.
But as a people, we have
Weathered every storm.
And risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
That gives it its strength.
all the people,
Regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We are
one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as filaria. But what is filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
to the impacts of the global pandemic, COVID-19, across our nation, essential organizations like us have chosen to adopt innovative approaches to meet the emerging needs of our customers while protecting our employees. Here are some quick tips to make managing your GPL bill easier while we practice social distancing. To register for electronic billing, you can use the e-billing tab on your website. To access your bill balance, you can use 4 options: the website live chat at gpl.net, the online inquiry on our website under billing, SMS Freedom by texting your GPL reference number to 624-0400 or 608-8400, or call our call center at 226-2600. A message from the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
Across the region right now, the Caribbean is hunting for visitors and vaccines to jumpstart a stalled economy in one of the world's most tourism-dependent regions. The Associated Press reported today that clear waters and warm sand attracted a record 31.5 million tourists to the Caribbean in 2019. But visits plummeted by an estimated 60 to 80% as the pandemic hit last year. That's devastating for the region, whose countries depend heavily on visitors for income. Tens of thousands of tourism-related jobs were lost in the past year. Desperate to create safe conditions for tourism, the Caribbean is turning to India and China for vaccines at a time when global supplies are strained and richer nations are ahead of them in line for shots from other sources. The Caribbean saw COVID-19 levels rising in November, along with variants feared to be more contagious. More than 522,000 cases and more than 7,500 deaths have been reported in 35 of the region's countries and territories. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Emery Brown, has chided the opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar for what he said was an inappropriate approach to the Prime Minister of India for COVID-19 vaccines. Persad-Bissessar, in a 23rd of February letter, asked India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a gift of COVID-19 vaccines. India last month provided 100,000 doses to Barbados, 2,000 of which were shared with Trinidad and Tobago. Although saying that her country was grateful for that donation, Persad-Bissessar noted that the population of the Twin Island Republic was about 1.3 million, and the country was reeling from the challenges of COVID-19. But the Minister of Foreign Affairs said the opposition leader had contacted the Indian leader even after the public was informed that the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, had already written to the Prime Minister of India requesting vaccines. The Foreign Affairs Minister said the decision by the leader of the opposition to try to insert herself into a matter of ongoing government-to-government communication must be seen for what it is, an attempt to position herself to claim in retrospect that her letter was the one that achieved any particular outcome, he noted. And finally tonight, international news. The United States has imposed sanctions on senior Russian officials over the poisoning of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The measures, which target the Russian top spy and 6 others, are being coordinated with similar moves by the European Union. U.S. officials said intelligence had concluded that Moscow's government was behind the near-fatal nerve agent attack on Navalny last year. He is the most high-profile critic of President Vladimir Putin. Moscow denies involvement in his poisoning and disputes the conclusion by the West that Navalny was poisoned with a nerve agent during a fight in Siberia. Sanctions are being imposed on 7 senior Russian officials and 14 entities involved in chemical and biological production, the U.S. administration has said. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting. Be safe